Modern Horizons 3 is coming to Amazon and also some local game stores this summer, bringing with it a plethora of powerful new modern cards to hopefully push out what is currently being played in this non-rotating format, and thus force everyone to need to get the new Modern Horizons 3 cards as quickly as possible before each become as expensive as Ragavan. Luckily, Wizards of the Coast is also releasing 4 modern event decks alongside Modern Horizons 3, which, quite frankly, is a brilliant move. By offering pre-constructed, ready-to-play out-of-the-box modern decks, it helps players access modern while also providing alternative ways to get in-demand cards. Maybe, just maybe, they'll include redemption codes for the modern event decks for Magic Online. That way people can also have a bridge between digital and paper, helping foster and grow the modern community and, oh damn it, they're commander decks, aren't they? Ugh. That's right. Modern Horizons, the modern set for modern players, which brings new cards for modern, will have 4 commander decks because... Why? Oh yeah, because that's why. Why couldn't we just have modern event decks? You know, back in May of 2014, Wizards of the Coast actually made a modern event deck. And while 2014 may seem like ancient history for you, for me, it was just yesterday. Because time is relative, and I am old. So old. Anyway, for this video, I would like to revisit the modern event deck, my review and evaluation of it, as well as the prices and value of the contents today. This next section will be what you all love, and I absolutely hate. Unscripted, so buckle up. So what exactly did the modern event deck contain, and was it worth it? Could it be worth it today? Could we do modern event decks again today? Let's take a look. But first, have you ever thought about how building a Magic the Gathering deck is a lot like cooking a meal? Think about it, it's true. Just like a master chef, a Magic deck builder must choose the right ingredients or cards and arrange them in just the right way to create something truly delectable. No, not those cards. Let's throw in, there we go. That's better. It also takes a lot of time and effort to put a great deck together, just like a great meal. So what if I told you could have the experience of eating expertly crafted food at home without spending all of that precious time? Well, you can with the help of today's sponsor, HelloFresh. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit, shipping delicious chef-crafted recipes directly to your door. Whether you're trying to save money, eat better, or save time, HelloFresh can help. Every HelloFresh meal comes packaged with all the ingredients pre-portioned and ready to cook, so you can skip the time and stress of planning meals and going to the grocery store. With over 45 recipes to choose from each week, HelloFresh's menu is bigger and better than ever. Have specific nutritional goals? Try their Calorie Smart or Protein Smart options. Have a busy schedule? Try HelloFresh quick and easy meals, which can be prepared in about 20 minutes. Minimum hassle, maximum deliciousness. So if you want to reclaim your free time for the important things in life, like building more and more and more Magic the Gathering decks, then check out HelloFresh today. For a limited time, they're even throwing in free dessert, so click the link in the description or use my code and get 16 free meals plus free dessert for life when your subscription is active. Cook delicious meals without the hassle with HelloFresh. Thank you, HelloFresh, for sponsoring this video. So this is a video I have never made before, which is essentially a Professor Reacts video, and I'm reacting to my own video from 10 years ago. Can you believe this is a 10-year-old video? I don't remember it. I haven't seen it in 10 years. I'm going to be making guesses and offering updated commentary as we go and look at the first and only modern event deck. Before we begin, I could have sworn I still had the modern event deck box around somewhere, and I wouldn't be surprised if it turns up after I film this, but I was able to find these, which are the modern event deck sleeves that came with the modern event deck. These were terrible. I don't know if I talk about them in this video because it's looking at the price value, but if I don't talk about them, let me just state now, these were the worst. The art would peel off, terrible shuffle feel, and it was wild to make these. They look pretty if you don't actually use them, but it was wild to make these, I'm assuming expensive relative to, the cost of cardboard, sleeves to go inside this product when you could have not done the sleeves and made the product cost less. And I think that was one of the big problems with the modern event deck, was that I don't remember what it cost, but I think it cost like $80 or so. And it was selling for less, and I believe my point that I'm about to make in this video is that if you can buy it for less, it's a good deal, but that 80 is a lot. Do you think 80 is too much for a modern event/challenger deck? If we were to do a modern/event/challenger deck today, sorry, brain, what do you think it should cost for a pre-constructed modern deck that's playable out of the box, maybe needs some upgrades? Can you even do it? Modern decks, how much do they cost? Like $800 and up these days? So I don't know. Let's see what the first and only modern event deck was actually like. In this video, I have asked my editors to superimpose green text of present day prices. So all the white text that you see is what cards cost 10 years ago, and the green text is what they cost today, so you can understand the present day value.
Many Magic the Gathering players have asked, is it worth it to buy the modern event deck?
Okay, so right off the bat, bad microphone. No, my voice did not crack in my late 30s and change. I just was using a much, much, much cheaper microphone back then. Interesting that I didn't even have many Magic the Gathering players ask the question down, and I just said many Magic the Gathering players have asked, is it worth it to buy the modern event deck? Still using the same editing software though, but new cameras, obviously, and much better microphones. Also, fun fact, this background was my kitchen. My old house I filmed in. This is not my actual house. I know some people think it is, but this is an actual Tolarian Community College studio/production house that I now have, office. But I worked out of my house, and every room in my house had a different color wall. And the kitchen, we had TARDIS blue walls, and I wanted for the thumbnails, the product shots to stand out, so it was a different color each time. Now it all has to be purple because we don't have different color walls. But I always liked that little detail that it was like, oh, if it was red, it was the living room. If it was green, it was my bedroom. If it was, yes, I like a green bedroom. There you go. There's some TMI about the prof. I like the color green. We're getting off track. Modern event deck. This was filmed in my kitchen, this part right here. And I always liked, in the early videos, my hand sliding across the screen to put the product in. I was very big on you knowing that I actually had the product in hand.
March of the Multitudes is a first for Wizards of the Coast, an event deck created for the modern format. As such, there's no history of past products to compare to or consider, and thus we must judge this solely on its own merit. With an MSRP of $75, this isn't a purchase most players will be making lightly.
So $75 is what this cost. I was close, 80, so 75. Yeah, it's black-white tokens. I believe it was based on, or at least heavily inspired by, this. There was a TCG article that was written, it was very popular at the time, by pro player Melissa DeTora. It popularized black-white tokens, certainly. And I don't think black-white tokens were ever tier 1 in Modern, but they were similar to Merfolk in that they were like a tier 2 level deck that just was, it had the possibility to maybe get there. I think it was an interesting choice for the first and only modern event deck. What else are you going to do if not black-white tokens, especially back in the day? Splinter Twin, because this is also an entry point to the format. You don't want to do Merfolk as your first experience in Modern or any format. Burn is the most obvious choice, but that's kind of boring. Black-white tokens, there's a certain amount of sense to it. $75, it's a lot.
The event deck contains the following.
All right, what did we get? And again, I always like opening it up. I know I have that box somewhere. Oh, it's gonna drive me crazy. So, I still have that playmat, and I used it in a video recently. That is a Calsa Brains cloth, textured back, what is it called? A cheesecloth backed cloth playmat by Calsa Brains. They were very Spellgrounds. They were very popular for a while. They're still around. Excellent quality. This is over 10 years. I still have that playmat. It's still in the same shape. Obviously, that doesn't necessarily mean that the present day playmats they make are of that same quality, but I suspect they are, and I have not purchased one in a few years because mine from 10 years ago still works fine. There we go. There's the components.
To assemble the deck ourselves, we'd have to pay anywhere between $138 and $195.
All right. So here we go. Like I said, the green prices today. So not that big of a change. Now, I was using TCG low to mid, and here I think we're just using market price. Editor, we didn't say, is that market price, that low? I'd say this is largely the same overall value, but the value of individual cards might be different. Now, I don't believe I talk about what cards cost back then too much in this video. I focus on a few high-end cards, but we will show in green the prices today of these cards. So, you know, if you got this back then, you still got some value, I guess. It's probably mostly in that sort.
What impresses me most about this list is how little bulk there is. There's a little, and mostly in terms of its mana base, but it is a fairly complete deck list, where just a little would need to be done in the way of upgrading. Even if we eliminate all cards at or below $2, which means ignoring even Honor of the Pure.
Oh, even if you ignore the Honor the Pure. Even if you ignore that modern staple and highly pursued card, you still get a pretty good non-bulk value here. What I really liked about Modern in the old days was that if you eliminated the mana base, you could put the deck together pretty affordably for many decks. Not all, of course. And that was how I got such a large collection. You may remember many of my old Deck Tech videos featured my actual decks. Those of you who have been watching me for 10 years. I was very big on that belief. I wanted to show you that I owned the deck, played with the cards, and so I would show them in videos. And the way I got 6 Modern decks was I didn't worry about the mana base for a lot of them and just got everything except the fetch lands and slowly waited for the reprints, which, well, that's another video. So here we go. I mean, you know,
we get between $100 to $140, which means financially it is worth the $75 MSRP. Considering you could not put this together yourself for $75, and you've got over $75 of non-bulk financially, it is safe to say you are not losing any money, and probably walking away with a few extra dollars in the form of cards.
So, and again, those green prices are today. That's interesting to see how much one card has gone up and another down.
Now, many players were expecting the deck to contain much-needed reprints of modern staples like fetch lands, and were both surprised and disappointed when the deck list was revealed, and none of those were included.
I was surprised and disappointed, I gotta tell you, that they didn't put fetch lands in this $75 modern event deck. Not angry, mind you, just surprised and disappointed, Wizards of the Coast. So, of course, the problem with doing that, especially in this day and age before Magic was really on Amazon or anything like that, is simply they wouldn't print much of this. And whoa, yes. Now, again, this is what it costs today. Sword of Feast and Famine is just under $40. But the issue was that if you put fetch lands in this deck, people would just go into game stores. It wasn't even I don't think the modern event deck came to big box stores. And they just buy it up off the shelves and only sell it on eBay for 5 times the price or what have you. Fetch lands, especially for the original Zendikar fetches, were quite expensive back then. And I see the reasoning in it. And there is an interesting argument to be made that Wizards could potentially even use Amazon and big box stores as a way to help enforce prices and to stop people from gouging, to allow them to put better cards inside of their pre-constructed products, but that's another video.
But I am going to argue in the opposite direction, which is, not only was it a smart move to not contain any fetch lands or other needed reprints, but that if anything, the deck's biggest misfire is by including 2 cards of too high a value, Elspeth Knight Errant and the Sword of Feast and Famine.
Neither of which were played in Modern, and I want to remind you, everybody drooling over that Sword of Feast and Famine, remember, Commander, this is 2014. I believe this is just the first batch. Were the first batch of Commander Precons 2013 or 2014, editor? So we either were just about to get the second batch of Commander Precons, or they would be coming the following year. Commander was still very much underground, under radar. That Sword of Feast and Famine, not really played in this deck. Elspeth, they put the wrong Elspeth in, I believe.
Why? Because this event deck is one of the closest Wizards has ever made to meeting the original goal of playability. This deck can be played right out of the box.
And that was what I was about. I loved Modern, I loved all formats, and what I wanted was an entry point to them. So it looks like I was on the side of keep it on the shelves and use it as an entry point rather than use it as a means to reprint fetch lands. I wanted fetch lands reprinted in $4 booster packs, and I wanted a complete Modern deck that was playable out of the box on shelves. So that's my, I guess you could say motivation.
It is perfect for those without a Modern deck and who wish to start in the format.
I don't know if I'd say perfect.
Can you put a Modern deck together for about $75? Yeah. If you are looking at second-tier decks, strong decks that might not win a Pro Tour, but are still competitive enough to be played at your local game store, then yes, there's a few options, most notably a Burn or Red Deck Wins build.
And that remains true, and I say to everyone that if you're looking to start Pioneer, Pauper, Modern, Legacy, Canadian Highlander, you're usually best bet is to just build a budget mono red burn, which can be put together on the cheap. If you use this as a regular system, many of the cards for those different formats are shared in mono red burn. So if you keep them in your collection, it's not a lot of a purchase. And then you go in and you just play as many games as you can to learn the format, learn if you like it, see other decks through what your opponents play, maybe get to know your opponents, ask if you could try piloting the deck once, that sort of thing. I don't think Mono Red is great for a standalone event deck, though. It's very linear, and I don't think that it would have been a good choice to do, hey, it's the Modern event deck, Mono Red Burn. Hey, it's the standard event deck, Mono Red. Hey, it's the Pioneer event deck, Mono Red. Now, when you're doing multiples, having a Mono Red option is fine, but for just one, no.
Other Modern decks like Mono Blue Tron can be built in the $100 to $150 range.
Not true anymore.
Soul Sisters Life Gain. And a little above
Soul
that
Sisters
gets you possibly the strongest Tier 2 deck, Modern Blue Merfolk.
Still pushing the Merfolk, the strongest Tier 2 deck. Was that true? Well, it felt true. You'll notice in these thumbnails for my early deck techs, I owned the cards, I played the decks. But yeah, I don't think any of those would have been good for a Modern event deck. And I think that's kind of the quandary. And I'd ask all of you watching to let me know in the comments, what Modern event deck today, what deck do you think would work for a Modern event deck? If it was even $80 again or $100, what could you do? What, you're going to say, do Storm? That doesn't work. Goblins? It's just really tough.
So being able to spend only $75 to get a strong Modern deck that can be played right out of the box is a big success on Wizards' part. If they had included so much as one fetch land, most of us would never be able to find this for MSRP.
I don't know how strongly it was bad in the day, I will admit it, and it affected things. They printed a Clash pack that had a fetch land in it, I believe, and an event deck that had a fetch land in it. And yeah, people just went into the stores, bought them all up, they were gone. But I don't know that the solution to that is, well, don't put the fetch lands in. So I might have been drinking a little bit of the Kool-Aid there. I think there are other solutions to it got bought off the shelf. Maybe we didn't have them available at the time, but in this era of direct-to-consumer and big box/online selling, you can use those tools as a way to maintain supply and enforce reasonable prices, I believe.
And any additional high-priced rares would have further exacerbated
Relic is
things.
that much? And yeah, I don't know, further high-priced rares would have exacerbated it. It could have used more juice. It could have used, take the sleeves out.
The underwhelming response of the established Modern player base worked in this deck's favor by not only keeping the price at MSRP, but in some cases even lowering it below MSRP. So look at this, we have stores selling them off for cheap. I hate to point to online sales over buying in store.
I hate to.
But when eBay and Amazon has these for as low as $53 with shipping included,
that's a good deal.
We do eventually have to follow our wallets. Keep in mind, as always, these are US prices.
So I remember myself being a lot harder on the deck before the discount, and apparently I was okay with it. That's interesting. I do remember feeling that $50 to $58 for the Modern Event Deck is a great deal, and that the Modern player base at the time was like, we don't need this. So these days when a Commander, and this is probably why they never did it again, because it didn't sell well, it going for $50 is not a good sign for WotC to do it again. But these days when they make Commander precons, hopefully there's stuff in there for existing Commander players. But when they made this Modern Event Deck, there was nothing in there for existing Modern players. So who wanted it? New players are not as drawn to it, and it led to the price going down.
Getting this for $53 is almost too good a deal to be true, and spending that to get an almost complete Tier 2 Modern deck is what the format needs.
Editors, right now, here's something I'd like to see. If I went online and I wanted to buy a sealed copy of this Modern Event Deck, in green right here, show me what it would cost me to purchase the lowest price with shipping. Like, just what's the total? What would it cost me to get this delivered to my door right now? And I'm going to guess, because I can't see this, it wasn't added, I'm going to guess $60? $69? You know, it seems to have maintained its value and not gone either way. So it's probably just the same. I'm going to say $69. Show me 69.
A point of easy access. Yep. Getting back to Elspeth and the sword. Both are worth about $20 and $25 respectively, and that's probably going to fall fast. But neither is typically found in a black-white tokens build.
Right. So one of the arguments I would make a lot in these days was just that if that's like $45 of value in those two cards, well, if the deck's selling for $55 of value, just sell those two cards and you got the deck for $10. That's pretty good, right? It was easier to sell cards back in the day. I believe it's getting harder to sell and trade.
It surprises me that Wizards didn't swap these cards out for their equivalent in price. But with them in your deck, you are free to do so. It's almost like when you buy this deck, you are getting a $30 to maybe $40 credit for upgrading.
That's a very interesting way of looking at it on my part. I haven't said that in a long time. Again, the prices in green are what this costs today. The prices in white are what it cost 10 years ago. I think that is very clever back in the days where it was easy to sell cards on eBay, TCG Player. I feel it's gotten hard. Last few times I've had to sell cards specifically through that. I do have a different method for the booster box game, but the average just put Elspeth at $6.99 up on eBay or other online marketplaces is not as straightforward as it used to be, I feel. And trades, I don't know. Do you still bring a trade binder to your game store? The idea, though, that you would take these two cards out, have $45 in credit through trades and selling to then upgrade the deck, that's a very clever way of looking at a $58 deck, you know?
Between these and some of the other rares like the Pain Lands, which are worth a couple bucks each, you might even be able to get a few extra dollars by selling or trading away these terrible, terrible sleeves.
Terrible, terrible sleeves. Yeah, they really are. But they were going for, at the time, $10, $15, I think, for the sleeves. People saw it as a status symbol, didn't want to buy that noise was this, by the way. I don't think it was on camera. Just so you're wondering what that noise was. It was the sleeves. It was the sleeves. And again, so there's 40, 50, but you could pretty much, I always loved taking 3 items, the sleeves, 2 cards, sell it, and that's the value of the deck, and then you get the rest and go to town.
So what would we want to try and trade these cards away for? Well, there's 3 play sets that are a priority for us to get. They are Thoughtseizes, currently at about $15 each.
Interesting to see how the price here, look at that price, has not really changed that much on Thoughtseize since the day. That is wild to me that Thoughtseize is not dramatically different. There you go. We still need it. It's turn 1 Thoughtseize. What are you going to do?
Godless Shrines, currently at about $10 each.
Wow, and that as well. $10.99 currently for Godless Shrines versus $10 each in the day. All right. And by the way, again, my own collection. Those are my cards. So I only had one. I traded for it or bought it. Well, one of the two, right? The original art Godless Shrine, and then I had the Gate Crash ones.
And Auriok Champions, another $15 card.
I'm actually interested in the fact that those are now still $10 each versus 15. Hey, I guess it hasn't all tanked.
Another card this deck typically runs is Hero of Bladehold at $7, not too bad. You'd probably also want to complete your playsets of Tide Hollow Scullers and Inquisition of Kozilek's. Alright, what about the white-black elephant in the room, the much-desired playset of Marsh Flats?
Alright, so before we go forward, I'm about to show the price on Marsh Flats 10 years ago. Take a guess. What were they? So they had never been reprinted. The first time these got reprinted was in Modern Masters 2015. Then we returned to Zendikar, and they did not reprint them. They reprinted them in Modern Horizons 3, and then they had reprinted them, or Modern Horizons 2, and then they reprinted them in a few spots, like they were in the Buy a Box booster, bonus boosters for the Buy a Box for when we returned to Zendikar, but you only had a chance at them. Expeditions, Secret Lair, Fetch Lands, which was a terrible product. But this was before any of that. What were they? They were, Marsh Flats would be like, would it be $45? Were they really $45, like $45 back then? They're how much now, 20? They were 40. I feel like 40 sounds correct back then for the Zendikar fetches. Scalding Tarn might have been more. Let me know your guess, and then let's go.
$40 each currently. Wow. The biggest problem is that upgrading to fetch lands is very costly.
They're 14 now?
Hopefully, a future reprint in a block set will drive their prices down in the way it did for Shocks.
Yeah, you got it, 10 year ago, Professor. We're gonna get a reprint of fetch lands in a block set. You just keep that optimism in your heart, my darling. Fetch lands are $14 now. Wow. Or Marsh Flats, I guess. So I suppose the combination of them actually being reprinted in Modern Horizons, as well as the decline of non-commander formats, don't discount that, has brought prices down. I think $14 for Marsh Flats is a great price, but we are reprinting the other set of fetches in Modern Horizons 3. Do you think that will make Marsh Flats rise in price? Maybe if you haven't completed your playset, it might be a good time, especially if you are interested in Modern. Well, I was right about them being 40. I guess I've got some horrors tattooed on my brain. I can't remember a million things, but I can remember fetch lands at $40.
But until that, my advice regarding fetch lands is this.
Let's hear it.
If you already have them, or some of them, then put them in.
Yep.
If you don't have them, they're at an all-time high and aren't worth it for a deck of this category, which is a newcomer's Tier 2 deck. If you fall in love with the deck and want to optimize it no matter the cost, then go for the fetch lands.
Right.
But if you just fall in love with the Modern format, then you will need to decide if there's a Tier 1 deck that you might want to pursue instead. Determine your needs and your goals.
Yeah, and I still stand by that. I say that about Commander a lot. Like, you start with a precon, and then you decide where you want to go. And I see people, when it comes to Modern and even Pioneer these days, look at the prices and they go, I can't afford that. But that's for a full Tier 1 deck. I think Modern in particular has changed thanks to Modern Horizons, where you can't just, in these days, I advocated the idea of buy the deck and then deal with a suboptimal mana base. Just deal with it. And you can't do that in Modern as much anymore. You can do that a bit in Pioneer, but unfortunately the price has shifted where the cards you need for the deck to function are just so expensive.
Final thoughts? This deck is a surprise success from Wizards of the Coast.
Oh, always the professor, just ragging on Wizards of the Coast. I literally have never seen this guy ever say anything positive about Magic. Here we go. A surprise success. It is unbelievable to me how the overwhelming majority of my videos are all, I love Magic, I love this product, this is a good deal, maybe it could be better. And then when they do something stupid, I go after them on it, or I offer my constructed but passionate criticism, and somehow I'm the hater. I'm the hater of Magic, a game I love, and even 10 years ago, on the one and only Modern Event deck, I'm saying, yeah, this is great. Let's just play the game, which is what I like. Get started, that, all right.
It is selling for less than MSRP. It contains a playable, competitive deck that is worth the cost for someone either new to the Modern format or whose early attempts at Modern decks have left them unsatisfied.
I am actually genuinely surprised I was this positive, joking aside, about the deck before the discount. I remember being hard on the deck, but then saying the budget price of $50 to $58 makes it a good buy. But apparently I just really liked an entry point for players into Modern, a format I loved, and wanted to encourage this and show this to people who are not Modern players. So there we go. It's a wonder. I know why they didn't do it again, but I wish they had.
Anyone interested in playing Modern but not knowing where to start can turn with confidence to the Modern Event deck. I hope this video has been of some help to you. Please be sure to check out my other videos and remember to subscribe.
Please.
Every time you hit subscribe, like, share,
it's true,
or even just leave a comment, it helps me to keep making these videos. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'm almost at 1 million subs, so if you haven't hit subscribe, I'm going to be the first Magic the Gathering YouTube channel to 1 million subscribers. So if you have been sticking with me 10 years or just 10 days, hit that subscribe button because we were the first to 100,000 and we'll be the first to 1 million. We are so close, but I need your help to get there. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this video with a friend. Interesting to see my other old videos I was plugging here. I have some updated thoughts on this. I think it was a good endeavor, but it actually needed more juice. So the biggest thing I disagree with in this old review is when I said I'm glad it didn't have high-priced staples. I understand leaving fetch lands out, though I could see putting one in, though if they were $40, maybe leaving the fetch lands out. But I think it needed more juice, more things to buy. There were a lot of problems with making a good deck back in those days, or a good pre-con deck, and it just flying off the shelves. Even some of the commander decks had that problem, but that's what we really need. Can we do this today? Could, as I joked in the intro, those 4 commander pre-cons really have been 4 Modern Event decks instead? Let's right now, editors, sorry to create work for you, have this screen fade away, and I want to see the top 4 Modern decks. We'll go to MTG Goldfish. We love MTG Goldfish. We just had Krim on Shuffle Up and Play. If you didn't see that episode, check it out. I drive Krim absolutely insane, and he, to me, playing Commander. But yes, go check out right now, editor on screen. What are the top 4 Modern decks? I cannot see this information, but I want to see the price. So just show deck name, price, sort of thing. And I'm guessing that the bottom is what? Of the top 4 decks, 800? Maybe is one of them like, yeah, you could probably do that for $650. That's still a lot of money for a Magic deck. I mean, how much is a PlayStation? Are we up to 5? What's a PlayStation 5 cost? And what's the cheapest of these Modern decks? $650? I bet you there's at least one of the 4 that's 1,000 or more, maybe 2. If I were to guess at these prices, I'd say we've got a $650 deck, an 800 and change deck, maybe 1,000 or just under 1,000 deck, and then one big ass $1,200 deck. How do you sell that for $75? How do you sell that for $100? Especially when these days that price is not entirely tied up in the mana base. It used to be that the price was tied up in the mana base, but it's no longer. Now, thanks to Modern Horizons and all that does to the cost of singles, there's a lot of expensive cards. Maybe that's a reason to have the pre-cons, because in reprinting those cards, maybe from the old Modern Horizons sets that didn't get reprinted in the main set, we can introduce them to the player base. But if Wizards continues the shift, and I do support the shift, to encouraging competitive play in Standard and Modern, and Pioneer more and more, which I'm in favor of, prices are going to just go up and up, And then we go right back to where we were 10 years ago, where access is very difficult and event decks just as difficult. But what do you think? You know, at the end of the day, I think Modern Horizons 3 would have been the perfect set to release modern event decks with. If the old modern event deck from 2014 didn't sell well, that can't still be indicative of the Magic marketplace and world we live in today. I also think having premium-priced Commander decks with a modern set is quite the choice, and maybe, just maybe, this could have been a release with play boosters only? Can we hold back on the Commander decks for just one set? The modern set? No? But that's just my opinion, and now I want to hear from you. Do you think there is any way that Wizards of the Coast could reasonably release a modern event deck again? Would those decks be viable and modern? Would they cost too much? Is it impossible to take these incredibly expensive decks that are played in official modern formats and create a pre-constructed, affordable version of them? Let me know in the comments below what you think. And remember, if you want to reclaim your free time for the important things in life, like building more and more Magic the Gathering decks, then check out HelloFresh today. For a limited time, they're even throwing in free dessert. Click the link in the description or use my code and get 16 free meals plus free dessert for life when your subscription is active. Cook delicious meals without the hassle with HelloFresh. Thank you, HelloFresh, for sponsoring this video.
Apple and pears up the stairs, crumpets and tea, next time on Shuffle Up and Play.
Today, we are doing an educational game of Commander. We are going to teach you what a level 8 Commander deck is.
Hi, I'm Louis Stardust. Today I'm playing Miriam, Sentinel Worm.
What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Joe Johnson, and today I am playing Preston Garvey, a new Fallout Commander.
I'm Vince, also as Peasant Kenobi on the internet, the milkiest man in esports entertainment, and today I'm playing Mono White Outdoor Adrium.
And since we are playing level 8 decks, I'm on Slivers!
If I blow up all your slivers, would it upset you?
Do you not see what is on Lua's board?
You
Lua
lose
has
5
no
lives.
lands! Lua has no lands!
Oh no, but what's that instead of the land?
Are you gonna be sad if your sliver dies? Like,
Yeah, I'm gonna be sad if my sliver dies.
still gonna do it.
Yeah! A hole is an absence of donut.
No, not a ring donut.
Yeah, like-
A donut doesn't have a hole.
How do the jam gets in?
It
They
puts-
didn't teleport it in, bro.